Hello world, I'm Will Sullivan with the OMB Policy Library demo team. We're doing our biweekly sprint demo, and this week is the Penne sprint, concluding 2 weeks of work in the open on the GitHub, on the internet. And we are going to dive right into the demo action, and we'll toss to Tig.
Thank you. Should I be presenting? I guess I am presenting now. Thanks, Will. Okay, so you can all see my screen. The first thing to mention here is that this is our new document view, which was pioneered by CM a couple of weeks ago, and which we've been working on to add features to and make look better. And one of the first features to talk about is the URL. Because now, instead of having to know the ID of this item in the database, you can access it by its OMB policy ID, in this case, M1619. This is currently the only document available in this view, because this is the one we're working through to figure out what we need to do to present these properly. But it's accessible via that URL. So we have much better styling. The typography looks better. We have headers that look good. We have also added footnotes. This is not the final footnote view. Ryan will talk about that later. This is an interim state. However, the footnote citation, what I'm mousing over right now, looks quite similar to what it will look like in future. However, the location of the footnote content is a stopgap. Ryan, again, will talk through how that's meant to look later, but right now we are simply placing it right next to the footnote citation in the document. Let's see what else we have to go through here. We now support lists. You can see one nice list here. And that's an unordered list, and I believe that we have ordered lists in here somewhere. Yes, here we have an ordered list, and nested ordered list, in fact. So we're able to support both kinds of lists, and ordered and nested. No definition lists yet, I suppose. All right, and we also did a very rough first pass at tables, which, as you can see, is far from finished. But we do support tables, table cells, table rows, caption elements, table headings, and so on. They just don't look very good. One of the reasons for this is that we haven't yet finished the footnotes, and this table has footnotes in the body of the table, and the current design, again, stopgap, shows the footnote content right after the footnote citation, which makes the table cells blow up, essentially. This is a really tall table cell right here, and is one of the reasons why this looks so wonky. Once we move those footnotes somewhere else, it'll look a lot better, a lot more compact, and a lot more like we would expect this table to look. We also have support for math. This is a very simple math equation. It's a fraction, but that is in something called KTech, which is a JavaScript implementation of the math for LaTeX, which allows us to show mathematical equations in the body of the document. And this table contains them, so we're showing them here. There are some issues with the math, and there's some issues, again, with footnotes inside or around the math, as we can see here. The math in there has a footnote. And I think that's all of the elements of the document presentation that we did for this last sprint. One other thing to note is that we changed, as requested, the email address. So right now, this says mail to policy library at omb.eop.gov, which we've taken a while to change, but now works. And with that, I'm going to stop sharing, assuming I can figure out how to do that, and pass it back to Ryan.
Hello. I will share my screen. And we can talk about design stuff. So last week, just a quick recap, we were able to kind of isolate a few styles and kind of get some things looking the way we wanted it to, which is slowly kind of being migrated and implemented into the demo site. But in addition to that, we definitely worked on a bunch of other things. How to navigate the M1619, which is, this is just kind of a quick first stab, but I just kind of envision it something like this. The footnotes you saw, here is kind of an expanded version of what a footnote might look like. What's great about this is that you do not have to lose your place when you read. The type gets to stay nice and big. Links aren't quite as problematic to click on in case you fat finger things on accident. They're just kind of typeset differently than the rest of the text, so they're more clearly indicated as a citation of some kind. And in addition to that, as you can see, working with these in Sketch is very long. So I did a kind of a quick standard formatting of a table, which, as you can see, and actually I was just thinking about, anyway, so how we might treat footnotes maybe differently in a table. This is definitely kind of depending on how we end up rendering tables, but we could kind of wrap the footnotes that are in the table just kind of statically with the table, maybe. And another version that we might be able to talk about is just changing the formatting of the table, because it's really not tabular data, right? One of those columns or rows is really kind of has nothing to do with the other, row. They're kind of just it's just a pattern mostly, and so we could render that a little differently in this kind of fashion, where it's just kind of got a little header, tells you what it is, here's the definition. What's nice about this guy is that we could keep the footnote formatting and just kind of run it in line with everything else. It works much better on mobile. There's no weird horizontal scrolling going on. And it could just kind of function like this, but it would still stay with the kind of formulaic formatting. And then lastly, we also worked on, call pages, some mobile interactions of what it might look like what happens when I click this little beta button right here. We've kind of got a lot of real estate currently on live where this is kind of full of like a search bar, and then there's all this information about official government website, and then a little blurb about what beta is. And it kind of takes up a significant chunk of initial real estate on a smaller screen. And so we were kind of playing around with what can we kind of collapse and, consolidate to make it a little more open. So what happens when I click that little beta button? You get this little drop down. There's all the data and the contact info. What happens if I click that search button? You would get a little search. But that also kind of led to thinking more about how do I navigate on mobile, right? I mean, desktop is kind of an easy solve because you have so much real estate, but on mobile it's a little more tricky. And so I was thinking, maybe we would just switch this to the word menu. I'm not a fan of the hamburger menu. I like the word menu. And what would happen, we could wrap search in that, and then you could browse all the sections of M1619. For next sprint, we're definitely talking about how we're going to tackle this for the whole site. So like the global nav versus the document specific nav. That is it, I believe. I can stop sharing my screen now. Bada bing, bada boom.
Excellent. And just an update on the ATO. We've done a walkthrough, several walkthrough demos with them. Lots of screenshots have been taken. They're on track to wrapping up in the next couple of weeks. And we've been kind of in the loop with OGP about the process. So that is continuing to move forward. And with that, we will jump.
Will, I have one other thing to add.
Oh.
If you could switch me for a second. I
One
forgot
more
this.
thing.
It's pretty small, but as well as being able to access the document via its OMB policy ID, you can also access it via what we're calling a slug. That's a typical web terminology for a URL-like title. It's the title of the policy, all lowercase and with dashes instead of spaces. So that or M1619 or the database ID is how you can access this. And
Nice.
Back to you, Will.
Excellent. Well, that will wrap our demo presentation portion. Our next demo will be on Friday, November 17th on YouTube again also. You can go back and watch all of our previous demos to kind of see our process and continue to follow along and subscribe on the YouTube channel that you're currently watching. There will be a playlist and all that fun stuff. And you can follow along in GitHub also or contact us at the email above. And now we'll jump to a teleconference call, going back in time to audio only to have a discussion about the work that's been done, collect feedback. And so feel free to close this live stream window or first start dialing in. And then once that's finished, join us on the call and we can chat, gather your feedback. I'll keep this up for a little bit longer and keep broadcasting, and we'll see you on the internet or on the phone line.